Hi, everybody. It's me, Jessica, your health fitness program manager from McLean, and we're about to get down on the floor for some yin yoga. So I encourage you to grab one block. If you want to bring two, fine, and make your way onto your mat for some child's pose. I'm just going to come over here, make sure everything is streaming. You want to put on some relaxing music. One of my favorite playlists to listen to during yin is that ambient relaxing. The ambient relaxation playlist on Spotify. Lamb chops relaxing with us. Okay. So we're making our way down into child's pose. Your block is within reach. Maybe you're even using it to begin to place your forehead on so that there's a little bit less of the draining of all of fluids into your head. If it doesn't feel great to have your arms really straight, take a generous bend of your arms. Start to relax into your breath and use your breath to check out how your body is feeling, not just right now, but throughout the rest of class. Use your inhales to notice where do you feel the stretch or maybe some tension. And particularly if you are feeling any sort of tension, using your exhale to just let it go, to imagine the inhale surrounding your tension and the exhale like breaking it apart, creating space. If you find your thoughts drifting away from this moment, this breath, your body right now, acknowledge that that happened. And then come back to this breath as you can. Whether that means simply focusing on the quality, making sure you're bringing it all the way down to the bottom of your diaphragm. Maybe you need to tune into the length of your breath, whatever it takes to create as much stillness in each posture as possible. Also, full warning, they're doing some drilling outside of my apartment, so things might get really loud. I hope they're done. I just want to warn you. If you have your hands palms forward or maybe back to your feet, go ahead, bring them underneath of your shoulders and press yourself up into tabletop. Might need to adjust where your knees are. Find a nice neutral tabletop to start. Eye gaze gently forward. Still on the floor though. Uh, really work to press as much of your palms of the top of your feet into the floor. See how being fully engaged with your mat can just change where you're even feeling this tabletop stretch. And then make sure that you're not sinking into your shoulders. So press it up into your hands, palms, and a gentle draw in of your lower belly so that it's not dumping down towards the floor. Oh my God, which I was totally just doing. Wow. But now we'll get to find that arch and range of motion. Start with your hips and enjoy a little bit of cat cow. 1 minute right here to just create whatever stretch feels good, to maybe wiggle a little bit on your mat. Maybe you stick with the traditional cat cow of just the rounding and the arching of your back. Maybe you get a little weird. Remember that every day is different. So if you're noticing some unique tense spots today, that's okay. The great part is that you're here and you're making this time for yourself and you're going to feel better. Maybe you already do feel better just knowing you showed up. Okay. Things are about to get pretty active. So if you didn't already have your block on the mat, yeah, go ahead, bring your block to the mat. We're going to tuck toes under, send hips up towards the ceiling, and then walk feet into hands as we prepare for a dangle. You can take a generous bend of your knees. In fact, I encourage a slight or generous bend in your knees so that your belly can be on your thighs instead of hinging from the waist where there's no support for your belly and that starts to make your back hurt. So take that bend of your knees. Maybe you send your glutes a little more up behind you. If your fingers touch the floor, cool. If your fingers don't touch the floor, you can place them on the block. You can wrap them around your legs. You can do whatever feels right for today. Even if you come into more of a standing tabletop, if that big hinge doesn't work for you and you bring your hands farther forward, so that you're still hinging from the hips, not just the waist. Awesome. We're going to be here for 2 more minutes. So find a place where you can create stillness, tune back in with your breath, and relax. And as always, if you do find that the stretch becomes a little too intense, go ahead, ease your way back out, find a new place to relax. But while you're here, back to your breath. Scan your body, check in with your typically tense spots, maybe some that you noticed for the first time ever today during your previous evaluating breath. Inhale, just be aware. And exhale, let go of expectations, let go of any negative thoughts or feelings you're holding on to the best that you can. On your next inhale, come up into a half lift. Find length through your spine and then heel toe your feet out to match with distance apart or maybe even wider with your heels out and your toes in. Hands can still be on the block as you start to lower yourself down to a squat. Maybe you hang out here in the spot. I even recommend transferring the block underneath of your glutes so that you could actually sit down. Focus on the big opening of the hips. Relax, feel a little bit more comfortable with soles of the feet down on the floor. So lift your chest, take your rounding out of your back. We're here for 1 minute from right now. Okay, let's release back down to the floor as carefully as you can. Once we get there, we're going to sit on our glutes. Sitting on your glute, we've got some bound angle with a little bit of massage for release. If you found that your knees are coming all the way up towards your chest, shoulders, it's a great opportunity to put a block underneath to make the floor feel a little bit more lifted towards you. And you might even need to have your hands behind your back because your hips are just so tight. But if you can, reach forward and grab hold of your feet. You're going to bring your hands to the arch of your foot and just massage in an upward direction for the next couple of breaths. This is one of our longest holds for the day, but we get a little active motion here to really just press, massage, stimulate the stress, tell it go away. Okay. Now we're just going to come into your stillness. If you didn't need to use the blocks, but your legs still aren't coming to the floor, maybe you use your elbows to press into your thighs. Maybe you interlace your fingers behind your pinky toes, and then you just kind of pull your toes to your face will help you bring your outer thighs closer to the floor. My heels closer to the center line. But if that doesn't feel good for you, you can also bring your feet a little further from the center line. Oops. And that might make it easier for you to get the outside of the legs to the mat. All right. My gosh. Don't look at my mat. I did a foot mask peel and rubbing my feet against my rubber mat is not helpful. Okay, so maybe you have your hands behind you. Perhaps you would like to take a big forward fold. Find what feels good because we've got just over 2 minutes from now to go here. And while you're here, especially these longer holds, remind you that it's normal if you start to notice any twitching or trembling. We're trying to eliminate or significantly decrease intentional movements, things that you do to relax yourself when you're uncomfortable, like messing with your hair, thinking now's the perfect time to adjust my outfit. All those small things that we try to distract ourselves from what we're actually feeling or being in the moment. Those are things that we're practicing getting over here in yoga. But you might also just notice some like involuntary twitches or trembling. And that's totally okay. That's just the new connections and openings that you're awakening. Saying hi. If you're folded forward, draw your belly button back towards your spine. And on your inhale, lift yourself up. We're going to extend legs nice and long in front of us for another hamstring stretch. If your hamstrings are really tight, you might want to gently bend your knees, press your heels into the floor. Otherwise, we want to make sure that we don't have our shoulders behind our hips. So we're going to hinge and shift forward. Maybe you even walk your glutes back for a moment. Belly can come towards thighs, and then think about using your props. So maybe your hands rest on your arm. Whatever feels okay. We've got less than a minute to go here. So just come into some sort of stretch. Find it. Allow it to be significant on the back side of your legs. And then take some big breaths into the back side of your whole body. If you folded forward, belly in. Inhale, lift yourself up. Hands can come behind you. Take another moment. Ooh. Windshield wipe your feet. Bob your knees. Release any tension that might have built up. All right. Next up, coming back into a big, big hip opener. We've got fire logs. I'm gonna face you. Show you what's happening. All right, so we're gonna bend the right leg, and the right shin is as much parallel with the top of your mat as possible. And your left leg is gonna come outside of your right foot. We look glamorous. As you start to sit your left glute down on the floor, we're then gonna work to stack the left shin on top of the right. Your hips are really tight. You might not even be able to sit your glute down. First option is to straighten that bottom leg out. That's still feeling like a little too much. Maybe just bringing your foot to the inner thigh. Oh my gosh, words. All right. If you're here, a block might even help you to relax. Come into this double pigeon the best that you can. If you don't feel any sort of a stretch in your top leg hip, hinge forward. We're here for just over 2 minutes from right now. And if today is a day where your head feels heavy, feel free to use your hands to hold up your head. If you round it forward, bring your belly button to your spine. Use your inhale, lift yourself up, hands come back by your hips. Extend legs nice and long. Take another bob and windshield wipe. Take a big counter stretch for your upper body too. So push into your hands, palms, lift your chest up, squeeze shoulder blades together, look up towards the ceiling, maybe even seeing the wall behind you. Carefully release. And then let's get the other side. So this time, left foot's going to be on the bottom. Walk, wiggle, however you need. Try and get your left shin parallel with the top of your mat. Right foot comes to the outside of your right leg, left leg, and then sit yourself down. One side might be a lot easier than the other. Remember, your options are stick a block under it, extend your bottom leg out nice and long, bring the sole of the right foot to the left bicep. And each of those modifications, you might feel it a little bit less in that right hip flexor, and that's okay. That's okay. Just create a meaningful stretch, even if it's not the same stretch. And once again, if you don't feel this, take that little forward hinge. We've got just about 2 minutes left right here. Final minute. If you're folded forward at all, use your inhale, belly in, lift yourself up, kick your legs out nice and long. We're going to lay down on our backs. Once you get down onto your back, draw your knees all the way up to your chest for a little knees to chest pose. You can have your legs open wide. You can squeeze your legs in towards each other. Relax as much of the back of your head, maybe even tucking your chin to your chest to get more of your neck on the mat. And then feel free to rock a little to begin with, side to side. Maybe even giving yourself some circles with your knees. And if you went for some circles, try a couple in the opposite direction. Work to just firmly print your back on the floor as much as you can. If it's uncomfortable to hold onto your legs, you can just let gravity do the work of knees to your chest. Maybe arms are down to the floor or wherever feels good. Let's spend one more minute here. On your next exhale, let's release feet back down to the floor, maybe one at a time, even. Yay! Next up is a spine twist. So press the soles of the feet into the mat. Shift your hips over to the left side of the mat. And then your choice. Maybe you keep your feet separated as your legs drop over to the right for more of a stretch through the left side of the body, left oblique, into the hip, into the thigh. Or if you want more of just the traditional spine twist, stack your legs together. If your legs don't quite stack, maybe you place a block between them or under them. Find whatever feels good for your arms. We're going to stay here for another minute and a half. If you haven't already, you can also bring a delightful stretch to your neck if you turn and look in the opposite direction of your knees for this final minute right here. Take your time. Feel free to use your arms however much you need to help you roll over onto your back once again. Once there, press into the soles of the feet, shift hips over to the left, and let's go right into our left side. Spine twist. Doesn't have to look exactly the same as your right side spine twist does. Maybe it looks completely different as long as you're creating a stretch that feels good for you right now, a noticeable stretch. Great. I'm sure you created the best stillness. Next up, we're going to roll over onto our bellies. And then once you get there, make a nice little pillow with your hands. So palms on top of each other, elbows out nice and wide. Relax, release yourself down for some alligator pose. Sink your chest and your hips. Make any sort of adjustments that you need to here as you first relax. Maybe your toes come together and your heels fall apart, or maybe your heels come together and your toes fall apart. Just find what feels good for you. Maybe you can pull your shoulders gently away from your ears to create some space as we relax here for a couple more breaths. Let's create one more stretch into our lower backs before we create a little bit more length into it. So bend your elbows, come into Sphinx pose, elbows underneath, ideally of your elbows. If that doesn't feel good for you today, open your arms wider, mats width distance apart, bringing more of your middle chest towards the mat while still lifting your upper chest. And even with your chin relaxed down, eye gaze can be to the floor, you can still be lifting your chest and find a big stretch right at the small of your back. Let's hang out here for 3 more super slow breaths. And on that next exhale, release yourself back down to the floor, back to your alligator. Bend your knees and windshield wipe your feet right and left. If you don't need that windshield wipe, if you just want to relax with your breath and your alligator, that's fine too. All right, release the soles of the feet back down to the floor. Press yourself up, legs more narrow now than they were earlier. You can walk your knees in. We're sinking back for one more child's pose. Not quite as long as when we got started. And you've been stretching around, warming up. So maybe your child's pose looks a little bit different now. Maybe it feels good to have your arms all the way long. Maybe you want to send your hands all the way to the back of the mat. Start to drag your fingers forward, press yourself back up, and come all the way up onto your knees. Ooh, let's bring right foot forward, just in a 90 degree angle. Press your back left knee down to the floor. Hands can be right on top of your right thigh. Getting a big stretch into the left hip flexor, even while lifted. If you're not feeling any sort of a stretch though in that left hip, then please, by all means, walk, wiggle your foot a little bit forward, but make sure that your left hip stays squared down to your mat. We've got just over a minute left to go here. Awesome. On your exhale, shift more weight back into your left leg. Bring your right leg in line to meet with the left. Take a moment, give yourself a quick little hip circle. Oh my gosh. In one direction and then again in the opposite direction. And then let's bring that left leg forward. Remember, both sides of the body are not the same. So maybe on one side you really like, want, or need the shorter 90 degree step. And maybe on the other side, you want to step your foot a little bit further forward. We've got a minute and a half from right now. However, you're in this stretch with the left leg in front, pull your left hip back a little bit. So your two hips are in one line. So hips are squared with the mat instead of opening up towards the side of whichever leg you have towards the back. And then giving you that same option before, if you started up high, but you want to go a little bit deeper for the final minute, you're welcome to. I'm going to stay right here. Enjoy. Start to shift more weight back into your right leg and then bring your left leg back next to your right. Get ready for your two slow hip circles, one in each direction. And then we're going to come on down to the mat on our backs. Block is still nearby. Stretching out those hips once more. We've got a reclined supported glute bridge. So grab your block, lay down, press the soles of the feet into the floor, under your knees, hips come up on your inhale, block comes to your low back. Maybe the block is on the flat side. Maybe you have the block on one of the higher sides. Just find what feels good for you. Start to relax your low back onto the mat. Glutes are meeting the top of the block. Big stretch happening in your low belly, lower abs. You can get more of a stretch into your hips as you start to walk your feet out. Find a place that feels good where feet are firmly planted. And then if you want, you can inhale your arms up overhead to create an extra stretch through your lats, through your upper abs, stimulate a little bit more digestion, working your way to straight arms, straight legs with pontoon pose, but you don't have to be there today. We've got just about 2 more minutes to go here. So find your stillness, find that one spot to focus your eyes on the ceiling, make any adjustments that you need, because the only thing you really need to do is breathe. So make sure that these final stretches are not limiting your breath. If you brought your arms up overhead, just with some intention, however feels good, bring your arms back down by your sides. And if you walked your feet further from the center line of your body, start to walk, wiggle, bring your feet back in until the soles are planted underneath of your knees. Then use your inhale, press into your feet, lift yourself up off the block, and one vertebrae at a time. Melt yourself back down to the mat. If your lower back is hurting at all, keep your knees bent and just tent them together so that your back can be firmly planted on the floor for a final savasana. Otherwise, extend your legs long, perhaps your heels touch and your toes fall open, or perhaps you'd like to open your legs wider Open your arms wider, make any adjustments that you need, and then get ready to give this final Savasana the same attention and focus as you gave every other posture today. We've got 3 minutes left here on our mats together today. I hope you enjoyed that deep relaxation with your breath focused stillness. You're welcome to stay here in this final Savasana for a little longer. If you're ready to close out practice together, take a wiggle of your fingers and a wiggle of your toes, and then take your time, make your way into a comfortable seated position of your choice. Once you get there, ground your sit bones to the floor. Inhale your arms up overhead. Bring your palms together and then hands down to heart center in Namaskar, touching your thumbs to your sternum. Tuck your chin to your chest and take a moment to honor yourself. Think of one thing that you've already done today that you can be proud of. And I hope whatever that thought was brings a smile to your face. Till we are together again next week, please remember, think those good thoughts, speak good words, eat good foods, do good deeds, take the time to nourish yourself from the inside out because you are worth it. And if no one has told you today, you are special. As always, the light within me honors, sees, and is so thankful for the light within you. If it feels right, you can bring your thumb up to your third eye, your drishti. Lift your heart up towards the sky. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day till we are together again. Namaste.